Daisy says, my husband doesn't want to talk about our future. We've been married 2 years. And outside of some petty squabbling, we haven't had any major arguments. I think we're gearing up for our first. I've been thinking about our future a lot for the past couple months. We're a few years out of school and have finally built up enough savings to do something. I want to invest either in a house or in further education. Every time I bring it up, he shuts it down and tunes me out. It doesn't help that I'm a verbal processor who wants to talk about it all the time. The thing is, I think that he is overwhelmed and intimidated by the options I've been bringing up. He seems to like low risk, low reward situations, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he wants to stay in our tiny apartment with our low paying jobs forever. I need some advice on how to approach this. Part of me wants to sit down with him and try to communicate about where we're disagreeing and what his feelings are, but I don't want him to feel attacked or cornered. Our future is something that we need to agree on together. It just can't be my dreams or his avoidance.
So that's really hard to be both in relationship with somebody you love and somebody you're presently very frustrated with. And it's the person like you committed to, you're in relationship with, and now you feel like mentally they may be holding you back. And that's a really tough spot to be in, because here you are in this committed relationship, and also you have this committed near decision that I need to make a change, and the person that I'm with isn't ready to make that change, either by their patterns or by their actual words. I'm not willing to change. And this is one of those things, and I learned this from Dr. Henry Cloud, who wrote that book, Boundaries. He's a clinical psychologist, really great book. And he talks about how every great relationship has to have love and limits. Don't sacrifice love in the name of limits or boundaries, and don't sacrifice boundaries in the name of love. You have to have both. And so what oftentimes happens in relationships like this is people will sacrifice the dream, the desire to grow, the desire to be better, the desire to invest in themselves, just to maintain the love. And then some people will say, screw it, I'm going to go do the thing. I'm going to go invest in myself. And you can just choose to sit here and wallow if you want, right? That's sacrificing love in the name of limits, and that's not healthy either. You really do need both. But it is going to be a conversation, and it may be the first conversation of like tension that she has, but it's a necessary one, because it's really going to be hard for a relationship to thrive if bitterness continues to compound year after year after year.
Oh, and she will definitely start to feel bitter if she feels like her husband is holding her back. But the truth is, like, Daisy just said that this is their first big fight. I mean, they've been 2 years in, and this is not a bad thing to squabble over, is to fight over where are we investing our time and our resources. And so being able to be on the same page is so incredibly important. But we've seen from the thousands of people that we've coached, a lot of them have in a season that there's a mismatch of priorities. And that can be really frustrating, but there are key ways that you can make sure that you get on the same page. What I've seen is a lot of times partners are not on the same pages because they're not communicating what their priorities are and why it's important. So I think one of the first things that Daisy needs to do is she needs to get clear and on the same page with her husband about what their priorities are. What does it look like? What does the next 5 years need to look like for them? What does the next 10 years need to look like? Is having a clear vision, a clear purpose for their marriage is going to help create some alignment on their financial investments. One of the first things that we did in our relationship was talk about what our purpose was, so that way we knew every decision we made, from what we spent money on to what kind of cars that we had to where we lived, what we invested in on our personal education, everything came under that umbrella of our purpose. And getting clear on what our collective purpose was super, super important.
And it's interesting. It's more like giving Daisy like the language to use in a situation like this. And it might be something as simple as, hey, babe, we've had an amazing first 2 years. Like, it's awesome. I'm so glad we got together. And if you kind of look back, it's like we fall in love, and everybody falls in love, and it's awesome. And most couples probably don't really make agreements as to what they're after, like what they're after together, what they're after individually, how they're supporting each other. And I think it'd be really good for us to come to some agreements as to what we're going to do next. Now, you probably might be feeling that life's a little overwhelming right now. You might be feeling like, I can't possibly take just one more thing. I feel like her husband might be feeling like, I'm barely getting by. So it's really important for her to like empathetically acknowledge that,
Yeah, for sure.
so that
That's
the
great.
walls come down. And then after acknowledging that with empathy, start to position in such a way that allows him to articulate what he wants over the next couple of years and her to articulate what she wants over the next couple of years. And she also has to be okay that even though she's going to potentially step out in pursuit of what she wants over the next 2 years, she needs to be okay with the fact that he may not be ready to do that for himself. But she can say something like, I know this may be frustrating to you, but I want you to know it's going to allow me to show up better for you as a wife. Should you support me in doing XYZ thing, investing in my personal education, investing in this first, residential real estate opportunity, whatever it is, it's really important that she contextualizes it as something that will actually contribute to her being able to be there for him better.
Well, most couples don't grow at the same rate.
True.
And so being comfortable with that there's definitely been seasons in our own relationship that you were growing faster than I was. And there's probably some seasons that I was growing faster than you. And that's okay. So they're only 2 years in. And so what they're seeing right now is maybe some friction around what that growth mindset needs to look like.
Right.
So she's looking at her husband and saying, hey, here's some investments I want to make in myself and my personal education, as well as maybe making some big financial moves. And she will lose him if she drags him. She will lose him if she drags
True,
him.
very
And
much.
so making sure that she's on the same page as him, even if it takes a little bit longer. Like, Daisy, I get it. I think when you have a vision and you have clarity on what you want to do, you want to take action immediately. But as someone who's in a committed relationship, it is unkind to pull someone along who doesn't quite see it yet. So you might just need to move a little slower. Maybe it's not going to be something that you do in the next 12 months. Maybe it's something that you're going to do in the next 3 years. But at the end of the day, your relationship is what is most important. And so sometimes it just takes a little bit of education. Sometimes it takes a little bit of exposure therapy. Odds are, I would bet Daisy's husband is just not been exposed to a growth mindset.
Yep.
And so take him to a conference, have him read a book, start to get him around other people that it's normal to invest in themselves. That's really all it is it sounds scary because it's unknown.
Right. Yeah, and it's so true because like most people, I think we all assume, right, that everybody operates from the same growth mindset. But there's no growth mindset. There's high growth mindset. There's moderate growth mindset. There's growth mindset to a point in which you've achieved something. You're like, that's good enough. I'll just kind of like set it on cruise control. And it's really understanding where are you and where are they? Because if their growth mindset is lower than yours, then what they're also looking for, like her husband may be looking for, I want to see if what she says she wants to do is real.
Oh, for sure.
Like
He
oftentimes,
probably needs to see proof.
yeah, if people have a lower growth mindset, they tend to be people who want more proof that the thing that the other person is advocating for is going to work. And so she's going to need to start taking some like baby steps towards she's serious about the thing. And it may not mean go invest in a 5, 10, 15, 25K real estate education course or something like that. But it might mean reading 5, 10, 20 real estate books over the next 3 to 6 months and beginning to build her skill set in that thing to show that she's consistently and actually serious about the thing. Because most people make judgments based on patterns and receipts.
Well, I think a big thing that they need to talk about is what are both of their fears? She's operating from a place of being afraid. It sounds like she's afraid that they're going to miss an opportunity to advance. She's afraid that they're missing out on an opportunity to compound their income by having some of these investments. Like there's a fear factor there for her.
Sure.
But he has fear as well.
Yeah.
And so his could be that he's going to leave the unknown, that he's going to be out of control, or maybe they're going to make these investments and it's not going to work out well. So having a conversation around what that fear point is going to really release a lot of the unknowns because so many people are dominated by their fears. Fear is the number one reason why people are making decisions.
Yeah, most people make decisions by default, which means they make decisions by fear or in the avoidance of their number one fear, right? So if you primarily fear rejection, all of your decisions are likely going to be filtered through how do I avoid rejection. If you fear loss, all of your decisions are going to be filtered through the decision-making filter of how do I avoid loss. Most people don't make decisions by design, which is to make decisions according to who they are and what's going to be best aligned with who they are so they can grow, right? That's making decisions by design. So she's sitting here thinking through the lens of a growth mindset. She's thinking through a lens of intentionality. And in some senses, he's probably making decisions or just kind of like batten down the hatches, keep everything the same, because he's probably operating from a position of fear.